Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle back with you to help you make some tough draft day decisions. That's right, when you get on the clock and you've got a couple of guys sitting there at a like ADP, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, time's running down. I got to pick one of these guys. Who is going to be the one to take you to a fantasy football championship? I'm going to help you make that decision today on several different players. But first, if you want to get a free draft guide and have a shot to win some autographed memorabilia, I've got just the way for you to do that. All you got to do is head on over to prizepicks.com or download the PrizePicks app, create a free account using code word headliners, deposit $20. We're going to send you a free draft guide, and we're going to put you in a drawing to win this autographed Mike Evans Cleat. This thing is super, super cool. Brought to you by our friends over at Pristine Auction. So again, all you got to do, head over to prizepicks.com or download the app, create a free account, code word headliners, and then deposit $20. You're going to get a free draft guide, and you're going to get a shot to win this Mike Evans autographed Cleat. So, tough draft day decisions. I mean, we've all been there, right? You go on the clock and you're sitting there trying to think which guy is going to end up being the best player to take. And I've got 4 sets of players today, all at similar ADPs. And we are going to try to figure out which one is going to be the better guy for you to choose. So hit the like button, because at 1,500 likes, we're going to give away a draft guide from this video. Make sure you leave a comment during the video, though, so we can pick one of you to win that draft guide, because let's face it, we're hitting 1,500 likes. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. You're not going to want to miss out on any of the content that we've got coming up. My first 2 that I'm going to be talking about, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones. Now, if you've been around the Fantasy Headliners for a while, you know how we feel about Nick Chubb. And you're probably saying to yourself, Kyle, I already know who you're going to choose. Do you, though? Do you? For offensive output, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Jones. All right. The Cleveland Browns, I don't think Jacoby Brissett is going to be bad by any means. But when you take a look at the weapons that they have, none of the weapons are established enough outside of Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt to really say, oh, these guys are going to outperform what the Green Bay Packers have around them. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But that could end up kind of leaving the Cleveland Browns in a situation where they do have some issues scoring points at times. So for the Green Bay Packers, essentially what I'm going to say is, for offensive output, if these 2 teams are close, give me the quarterback. And the quarterback, obviously, that you're taking here is Aaron Rodgers. I do believe that he can lead the Green Bay Packers offense to be more consistent and more dominant at times than what the Cleveland Browns could end up being. So for the teams around them, I got to give this to Aaron Jones as well. Outside of Amari Cooper, you take a look at what the Green Bay Packers have and the Cleveland Browns have, and it's essentially the same thing. You've got 2 really good running backs, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. You've got a wide receiver 1, essentially, for the Cleveland Browns and Amari Cooper, and you don't really have that guy for the Green Bay Packers yet. But again, it goes back to the quarterback as of right now. So again, when I've got 2 teams that are so close, I've got to go and give the team to the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is going to have a better team around him, more weapons to at least kind of hold that pressure off a little bit. And he's got a quarterback that is going to strike a little bit more fear in their opponents. Now, for a consistency factor, though, I'm going to give it to Nick Chubb, because when you take a look at Nick Chubb and what he can do consistently, when he gets the ball on the ground, he picks up yards. The data absolutely proves that, and we've proved it for 3 straight years now, that Nick Chubb is a viable fantasy producer with or without Kareem Hunt. It doesn't matter. So the consistency you get from Nick Chubb is going to be there. Now, at times, maybe that consistency isn't going to be the high-level upside of Aaron Jones, and that is why Aaron Jones will get my ceiling. but he's going to have the type of consistency where on a weekly basis you say, you know what? With Nick Chubb, we know what we're getting. They're going to run the football, and he's going to have a safe floor because of that. Aaron Jones at times possibly could end up losing out to A.J. Dillon, especially if you find yourself in a situation, if you're the Green Bay Packers, where you're leading for a significant portion of the game. Then you see a little bit more of A.J. Dillon. Now, Aaron Jones he's a really good running back. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball, but he's going to be more of a pass-catching weapon this year, I feel. And A.J. Dillon is going to be a guy that is going to put up a ton of yards on the ground. And yes, he's going to see probably some some passing game work as well. We know he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So for me, it really, when I take a look at this, when I see the floor, I think there's a little bit more consistency for Nick Chubb to hit a safe floor than what there is for Aaron Jones. Now, what about the schedule? Well, the schedule is going to have to go to Aaron Jones as well. I'm going to give the schedule to Aaron Jones, and I'm going to say this is a guy that is going to have a little bit of an easier time scoring points this season than what Nick Chubb will. And again, it's nothing against Nick Chubb. It's just the schedule tends to be a little bit more brutal for the Cleveland Browns. Now, the good thing that they have going for them is they've got a pretty easy stretch to begin the season. Games 1 and 2 is not bad, but then weeks 3 through 8 and 14 through 18, you're going to run into some teams that are going to be tough to beat at times. And games that you might find yourself saying Nick Chubb won't be out there for that type of late game work where they're leading and we're just going to feed Nick Chubb. They could find themselves in a little bit more passing situation. So again, it doesn't have me off Nick Chubb at all. It just says, hey, the schedule for Aaron Jones seems to be a little bit easier than what it's going to be for Nick Chubb. And really my gut feeling all year long has been Aaron Jones. Again, and that's why I said at the beginning, you're probably thinking to yourself, I already know who it's going to be. Well, guess what? You don't. Because I do have Aaron Jones ranked higher than Nick Chubb. I don't have Nick Chubb as a running back 1 right now. He's being drafted as 1. I do have him as the RB13. As a mid-second round pick, I'm okay with it. But Aaron Jones going at 22 overall as the RB13 over, behind Nick Chubb, I've got these guys switched up. I would rather take Aaron Jones at 15 overall as the RB12 and then take Nick Chubb 22 overall as the RB13. I'd much rather have them at those ADPs. They got to be switched. So Aaron Jones is going to win out for me. On draft day, I'm definitely taking Aaron Jones over Nick Chubb. And FYI, in case you're asking, these are not rankings for me on the screen. These are their current ADPs. So if you have an issue with how they're being drafted, go talk to your fellow league mates because they're the one doing it. CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown. Let's talk about some wide receivers here. From an offensive output situation, I will say this. I put these graphics together before Tyron Smith was injured and literally found out about it right before I recorded. So instead of redoing everything, let's talk about it. So for CeeDee Lamb, I'm giving him offensive output. That could be hurt a little bit with Smith. Now, I don't think Smith being injured hurts the entire offense. I do think it hurts the run game the most, but hopefully Mike McCarthy can institute a game plan that will allow Dak Prescott to get the ball out a little bit quicker, which in reality is where CeeDee Lamb is going to be better anyway. If you've listened to me talk about CeeDee Lamb this offseason, they don't really put him in a situation to explode after the catch. They kind of give him these routes where he's got to go up and get the ball and then he's kind of done at this point. Instead of putting him on routes where he's got room to operate, some slants across the middle, some yards after the catch, make some guys miss. That's where CeeDee Lamb is going to be best. That's what they need to start doing with him. And maybe with this injury to Smith, they're going to put themselves in a situation to do that a little bit more often. So I'm still giving the offensive output to the Cowboys. I haven't seen enough from Jalen Hurts at this point. Yes, From all indications, he's having a pretty decent training camp, but that's a lot different than getting in season and actually putting up the numbers against number one defenses week in and week out. So offensive output, can't even get my words right. We're going to go with CeeDee Lamb. Team-wise, A.J. Brown. I am going to say that the weapons that A.J. Brown has around him are better than what CeeDee Lamb has around him. The one thing with CeeDee Lamb that I think we're going to find on a weekly basis is that he is going to have more cornerback one coverage than what A.J. Brown may have. Now, A.J. Brown will probably pull cornerback one coverage 90% of the time. But when you have Devontae Smith on the other side, that's a little bit better than what CeeDee Lamb has on the other side. Also having Dallas Goedert. You also have, again, Devontae Smith. Jalen Reagor is going to be walking around there a little bit. Maybe he wasn't a first-round pick, but I still think the talent is there for him to be a lot better than what we've seen so far. All these things considered, A.J. Brown likely could not see as many double teams as CeeDee Lamb will. So I'm going to give the team to A.J. Brown. I'm going to roll with him. He's got better offensive weapons around him to help take the pressure off than what CeeDee Lamb does. So for consistency, though, I am going to go with CeeDee Lamb for consistency because he is going to be the guy. Except for Dalton Schultz, he's going to be the guy. And again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, the injury to Smith, I think, ultimately ends up benefiting CeeDee Lamb because they're going to have to put him in better positions to win quicker. And I think that actually fits his skill set a lot better than what just being a true outside alpha wide receiver does. So I think CeeDee Lamb is still going to see a little bit more consistency. I also think that Dak Prescott can be more consistent than Jalen Hurts. And that is another reason why I'm going to give that to CeeDee Lamb. The ceiling is also going to go to CeeDee Lamb for me because, again, he is such a big playmaker, and this is an offense that was top 10 in the league last year in multiple categories, which you saw in my last video. CeeDee Lamb is going to be a guy whose ceiling will be higher than A.J. Brown, I think, a little bit more often. And the reason, again, for that being is CeeDee Lamb outside of Dalton Schultz is going to be the guy. A.J. Brown still has Dallas Goedert. He still has, he still has on the other side Devontae Smith, who, do we think he's going to get less than 100 targets? Probably not. I did a video on A.J. Brown and why I was concerned. And based on like the current type of projections, unless you take significant targets away from almost everybody on the team, A.J. Brown isn't going to see 150 targets this year. CeeDee Lamb could easily see 150 targets this year. And because of that, he's got the ceiling and he's got the floor for me. I'm giving both of those things to him. And not only that, CeeDee Lamb is going to have a better schedule as well. I like CeeDee Lamb's schedule better than what I like A.J. Brown's schedule. The good news is that weeks 10 through 15, when you're looking at getting into the playoffs and starting the playoffs, CeeDee Lamb has a much easier schedule than what A.J. Brown has. Much easier schedule. The best start to the season, though, is going to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have a little bit better start to the season than what the Dallas Cowboys will, but I'm not off at all CeeDee Lamb just because there is a little bit of a better start for A.J. Brown. So yes, it might be a better start for him, but I'm out of it. I'm out of it. I can't do it. I've got to take CeeDee Lamb. My gut tells me that this guy is in for a much better season. I've seen CeeDee Lamb ranked as high as wide receiver 5 for some people. I haven't seen A.J. Brown go nearly that high. And honestly, you're taking CeeDee Lamb right before you take A.J. Brown. So if you're on the clock and you're trying to decide on your wide receiver 1, I've got to go with CeeDee Lamb. But what about your wide receiver 2? If you draft one of these guys as your wide receiver 1, who's somebody you could take a shot at as your wide receiver 2? What about DJ Moore or Deontay Johnson? These guys going right next to each other at 43 and 44 overall, wide receiver 15 and wide receiver 16. For offensive output, I'm going to be honest, I couldn't pick anybody. So nobody wins this category because I think there are a whole lot of questions about both of these teams. With the Carolina Panthers, you take a look at, Christian McCaffrey. Can he be healthy all season? How is Baker Mayfield going to be as the new starting quarterback? How's this offense going to run? Is it going to be better than it has been so far under Matt Rule? There's a lot of things that have to happen right for Carolina. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you've got an offensive line that, yes, is a little bit improved, but is it really? They aren't going to take a huge leap forward this year. You've got two potential wild cards at the quarterback position with rookie Kenny Pickett or the savvy veteran Mitchie Biscuit Trubisky. There's just neither of them, when I look at offensive output, stand out to me and say, yep, these are going to be teams that are going to be consistent contributors on the offensive side of the ball all season long. So I'm not picking either of them. Team-wise, though, I'm going to give it to Deontay Johnson. The weapons around him are going to be much, much better. And that has helped Deontay Johnson so far in his career. Kind of being the number one, but not really the alpha number one. He's had guys around him to help take that pressure off. And it's going to be the same thing this season. So for me, I am going to give him a little bit of a bump here on team because really outside of Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore doesn't have those playmakers around him. So from a consistency standpoint, I got to go DJ Moore though. I got to go DJ Moore with the consistency here because DJ Moore is a guy that as the number one in this offense and as the guy who will likely see the most targets either with Christian McCaffrey or right behind Christian McCaffrey, he's the guy that I look at and say, okay, he might not have the biggest weeks in the world, so we'll give the ceiling to Deontay Johnson, but he should have a pretty safe floor for a majority of the season. With Deontay Johnson, I could see what we have with Deontay Johnson being where, hey, this is going to be a guy that's going to have some huge, huge weeks for you, but then he's going to disappear. And for DJ Moore, it's going to be like, well, he's not going to have the biggest weeks in the world for you, but you're never really going to look at DJ Moore and say, I lost my week because of him. So I feel like he's going to be a little bit more consistent, and he's going to offer you a better floor than what Deontay Johnson would, having a better ceiling. So for strength of schedule, I'm going to have to give that to DJ Moore. I'm going to go with DJ Moore here, having an easier schedule this season than what Deontay Johnson will. And it might not be necessarily that the Carolina Panthers are going to have an easier schedule, but it's about the strength of schedule and how difficult it could be for Deontay Johnson. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a pretty difficult stretch of the season to begin, weeks 1 through 6. And that, to me, when I take a look at, okay, which guy is going to get out to a better start and which guy could be a little bit more consistent throughout the season with their schedule, that's going to be DJ Moore for me. Now, neither of them have an uber great playoff schedule. Neither of them have a tough playoff schedule. After weeks 1 through 6 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, really, there isn't a whole lot there to say either guy wins out on the schedule. But because Deontay Johnson's strength of schedule is so much harder to start the season, DJ Moore is going to get a little bit of a bump to begin with there. And then gut feeling overall for me is just going to be DJ Moore. I like him this season. I think the connection with Baker Mayfield is going to be much better than what we saw last year with Sam Darnold. Hopefully Baker Mayfield stays healthy. And if he does, DJ Moore can have Baker all season long. If Baker stays consistent, Moore's going to see volume. The big thing that would set him apart would be the touchdowns. Deontay Johnson may score a little bit more, but DJ Moore could end up matching him in targets, in yards, in receptions, and knowing that he has that little bit of a safer floor, but the opportunity to grow with Baker Mayfield is there, and that Christian McCaffrey is really going to be his only competition for a large part of targets. DJ Moore is the guy for me that I'm going with the gut feeling. And now let's throw some tight ends to the mix, because I feel like All tight ends need a little bit of loving. Maybe I shouldn't have said it like that, but that's okay. Darren Balls to the Waller and Dalton Schultz. Darren Waller going as the tight end 5 at 40 overall. Dalton Schultz going in tight end 6 is 48 overall. Offensive output, again, unfortunately, with the injury to Smith, that hurts overall. But as I talked about with CeeDee Lamb earlier, this is a great opportunity for Dalton Schultz because the offensive line being down a guy means that they're going to have to get the ball out quickly. That is Dalton Schultz, okay? He was the guy for Dak Prescott last season. But offensive output, I've still got to give it to them right now. However, knowing what we know about Smith and how much that could hamper this team, the Raiders are probably going to be with them or above them by the time the season ends. So is it Dalton Schultz right now? Yes, because I put this slide together before Smith got hurt. But the Raiders are very, very close at this point. Raiders are very, very close. Team-wise, though, I am giving them the better team. I just haven't seen Davante Adams as of yet. That is why offensive output is going to Dalton Schultz, because I haven't really seen Davante Adams. The game plan, is the connection still there with Derek Carr? I believe it will be. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the Cowboys because they were a top offensive team all season last year. But when you take a look at the weapons around Darren Waller, he's got better weapons all the way around him. Does he got the better quarterback? You could argue that Dak Prescott's better than Derek Carr. I love Derek Carr. If you're a Derek Carr fan out there, you might not agree with me on that take. All fine and dandy with that. Dak Prescott's still over Derek Carr at this point in time. But weapons around him, Darren Waller, because when you take a look at it, if Darren Waller gets utilized correctly, he could be open quite a bit. He's not going to be the main focus of the offense. With that being said, though, I still got to go consistency with Dalton Schultz because, again, he is the guy for Dak Prescott. He is the binky, as Jake and Ethan would say. He is the baby blanket. He is the check down guy. When Dak Prescott is looking for somebody, he's looking for Dalton Schultz. And if you watch tape of the Cowboys last season, it is clear that Schultz had the best connection with Dak Prescott. Because of that, it's going to lead to some better consistency. And also, Darren Waller has to put up with Davante Adams, and he's got to put up as well with Hunter Renfrow. The breakout Hunter Renfrow from last season. Dalton Schultz really only has CeeDee Lamb right now. So because of that, yes, I'm going to give a little bit more consistency to Dalton Schultz. The ceiling is going to be there with Darren Waller, though. He is a much bigger playmaker, but you're never going to look at Dalton Schultz and say, ugh, I lost my week because of you. Because the volume is going to be there for him. The consistency is going to be there for him. It's going to give him a decent floor. It's going to give him everything that you need and want from the tight end position. But Darren Waller is going to absolutely have some banger games that Dalton Schultz may not see throughout the season. Schultz also has a better schedule. If you take a look at Dalton Schultz, his schedule is going to be much better. So we've got to lean towards him for that way. The easiest stretch of the season is going to be, again, heading into or around the playoffs, week 10 through 15. Whereas the Las Vegas Raiders, when they get to week 13 through 17, that is when it's going to be the toughest for them. So for me, when I take a look at that, it's definitely where, I don't know if I can go with it. Dalton Schultz playoff schedule is one of the easiest schedules for tight ends. Darren Waller's playoff schedule is one of the hardest for tight ends. So you got to give the schedule there. And once again, my gut feeling is going to be Dalton Schultz. I do believe that he is going to be the main target for Dak Prescott. Dak is going to be looking his way early and often. And because of that, he is going to have a better floor, more consistency, and at the end of the season, a better overall season than Darren Waller will. So balls to the Waller for me. Only getting 2 categories here. I love Darren Waller. I called his breakout a couple of years ago, so he will always have a special place in my heart. But Dalton Schultz is my guy this year over him, and I have got to go that route. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Broke some tough draft day decisions down for you and gave you an opportunity to really try and understand what we're thinking when we get on the draft board. So hit the like button for me so we can give away a draft guide at 1,500 likes. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about some of these guys and who you're taking. And if you're new here, you've got to hit the subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that chub life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.